Hello, I'm British, so we drink tea. Sorry, let that disappear. I'm not kidding. This is the 5th time I've tried to record this video. If it doesn't work this time, we'll just have to roll with it. So a friend of mine, Mark, is a tournament grinder. He plays a lot of standard and modern GPs and stuff, and he basically dropped me a message and said, look, I want to sell out of Magic. Here's all my stuff, or at least all my stuff besides the deck. And I was like, always, you know, it's a hard one being the guy who buys and sells the trading cards, because eventually the people that you play Magic with and are your friends are the people that you buy out of Magic and potentially never see again. It's a bit of a weird paradox, really. Anyway, I'll talk you through this collection. So he's given me an amount of Playmats, and Playmats are one of those things where, as you can tell from the top one, unless you are an old school Magic player and went to GP Vegas 2018, are you ever going to want this mat? Am I going to get £5 for this mat? I don't think so, which is the inherent problem with Playmats and stuff. Mark's also quite a heavy smoker, so I've had to air these out. They've been on the washing line and the air and stuff, they don't smell anymore, which is the main thing. No offence, Mark, if you watch this video, but they were gross. So yeah, so these are unplayed. I mean, I saw Mark buy this at a GP. There was some lucky dip thing where you paid £30 and you got 3 different Playmats from this random collection, and this was one of them. I doubt Mark's ever played on it. I mean, stuff like Thassa, this is a good one. I might be able to get 10 for this, assuming somebody is a blue player or a blink player or something. So that's one thing at least. Breeding Pool, this was Mark's actual main playmat for a while. It's got a little bit of frame around the edges. Again, £5 or a tenner. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of money for it, if I can sell it at all. I end up just having lots of Playmats. I mean, I've still got, too far away to grab, but I've still got a bunch of other people's Playmats that I've had for a couple of years that just sit there doing nothing. I've got a plain white Playmat that's at the bottom of this pile that I used to play Spell Table with this. Oh, I'm pointing at it, I forgot it was on. You know, I use this for Spell Table. A white background's cool because I've got a ring light built into it, so it bounces all the light off. It makes things a little bit better, but other than that, you know. This is a nice one. I'm pretty sure this was one of the ones that was given out by Channel Fireballs, like GP in a box or GP at home or something, unplayed. This is a cool one. This is the lightning bolt like promo where the mats like meet and it creates one big ass thing. Oh, I accidentally ended recording there. This is another entity. I have no idea how much this would be worth. I'll have to have a look at them. I mean, that's one thing at least, but again, effort. Just a Dragon Shield branded dragon. It's a nice piece of artwork, don't get me wrong. Will anybody care about it enough to pay more than £5 for it? I don't know. Munitions Expert, Mark was a Goblins player, so that makes sense that he has this mat. Whether or not anybody else wants it, I don't know, but it's brand new. They're all brand new. You can tell it by the back. There's like a couple of marks, and they're like storage marks. They're nothing to do with the actual thing. Mace of the Valiant or something, whatever it was from Eldraine. Again, I'm sure somebody wants it. £5. Whirler Rogue, again. Mark actually went to Mexico on a holiday and snuck off the complex that he was on to go and buy some War of the Spark Japanese boxes that were underpriced. So I dare say he picked up this whilst he was there. I think that's Whirler Rogue. I don't actually know. It's Kaladesh something. Again, a £5. Ex-Champion, old school playmat. This one's tatty as hell. I'd probably struggle to even get £5 for that, to be honest. And then the last one is the War of the Spark alternate art Nihiri promo, which is cool. I think obviously it's got a lot of like waifu weeaboo appeal. I think this is one of the ones I looked at. I think it's on for like £25–30 on the internet, and I don't think they're available for sale anymore. So maybe I'd get like 20 quid for it. I've already had a friend message me about it, so that's pretty much solved, which is good because he wants to be sat on a load of old Playmats. You don't, no offence. So that's that, and this is obviously my bad boy £4 playmat. So let's talk about Mark's cards. So first of all, Mark had 2 decks, and two modern decks and an EDH deck. And I've taken the EDH deck out of the box it was in because it was a cheap one. I've basically split the modern decks up and I put the modern decks in a binder for ease. And I've taken Mark's, taken his EDH deck and put it in another one. So it's just red artifacts. I think genuinely the whole value is in the worm coil and the Ruben Medallion, the Khan, maybe even the Beguiling Hellkite. I think the rest of the deck is pretty much just pennies. Obviously, I went through it and priced it all. There's a few cards in there that are worth like a couple of quid, but for the majority of them, just nothing. You know, I don't believe that red artifacts is a particularly popular archetype. So it's just sat there for the moment because, you know, I might get 50, 60, 70 quid for it. Maybe not even that. Sometimes I find that when I'm selling decks like this, it's better to take the good cards out, you know, and sell the deck, what, 25 quid less than what I wanted for it, and just say to somebody, like, if you want a budget EDH deck, here's this deck, it's £30, you know, and just fire sell cards that are worth nothing very easily, and just say, you know, oh, by the way, recommendation, if you were ever to like upgrade the quality of this deck, think about a Worm Coil Engine, think about a Ruben Medallion, you know, you might even go with a picture of, by the way, if you want it, I've got it, you know. I don't know, but that's what I tend to do with EDH decks that aren't mega powerful, because you struggle to sell them quite often. A little bit of fun fact, these deck boxes, good quality. I'm surrounded off camera that you can't see by like archives with the Xeno skin stuff. I've got loads of Boulder deck boxes, which is really cool, and they are basically my little presents to me that I get to keep when people sign my collections. They just, I don't want it anymore, and I'm like, sweet. Not that I want an Iron Brew orange deck box, but listen, that's some premium quality stuff. I've got I shouldn't be showing this is shameful. I've got my personal Tron deck, which is a jank build. It's not tier, but if you look at it, I've got all the original like foil engine stones when they were like 35 quid. I've started to foil out the deck. I've got Masterpiece Soul Rings, Mythic Edition Ugins, Masterpiece Worm Coils, you name it. I think the value of the deck, a couple of foil Khans floating around there, the value of the deck's like maybe like £1,000 or something. I've even started putting like the big expedition maps in there, and you name it. Basically, it's in a cheap plastic deck box, so I dare say that this will be decanted into the orange one in the very near future. But yeah, perks of the job, I guess, sort of mention that. This one as well, I don't know, it's rigid. It's a lot more rigid than the plastic ones I've got. Cool. There's also a stack of cards. I won't go through them all because they're a bit pointless, but Mark was a Goblins player. When I've priced up, I said, to be honest with you, a lot of the Goblins that you've put in there are like commons, uncommons. There's so many cards in there that just aren't worth anything. And he said, well, you know, if there's any commons or uncommon Goblins in the deck, which is the majority of the deck, it's like, I'll just take them back if you want, and, you know, I'll get back into Magic at some point and I'll rebuild. And I said, yeah, cool. So I just put them to one side for him to take them back. Obviously, your average person that I'm buying a collection from, I'm not going to then just be like, oh, by the way, take all these cards back, my gift to you. But they're not worth anything, you know, and the amount of collections that I bought where people have had these decks built with uncommons, like, I've got a Living End deck because somebody sold me a collection with Living End in it. And I was like, well, the Living End cards are a tenner each, and the land base is something, but other than that, the deck is full of commons and uncommons. Same with Infect, you know. Infect as a deck's probably worth like 170, 180 now, and most of that is Noble Hierarchs and the land base. You know, your Mutagenic Growths and Groundswells and whatever, you're talking 20p each. If you ever get sold that deck, sell a land base, keep it as a budget modern deck, you know. Anyway, moving on to the reason. So I gave Mark 1,200 for this collection in total, and that is primarily because of this. And as I mentioned, Mark is one of the people who grinds tournaments, so his play style was he would be playing like the best deck in the meta in Standard, and obviously like Standard's best deck rotates quite often. So what he did when he started out was start buying 4 of every card in Standard, which I rate, and at the time obviously Guild of Ravnica and stuff was in, so my cat's joined me. So yeah, guilds and stuff was in, so you know, therefore Shocklands were in, so he's got a place of every Shockland. So obviously when I come to buy this as a collection buyer, this is mega attractive for me, because I quite often give people like £1,000 for collections, and it might be like one card of one thing and one card of another thing, and you know, that £1,000 might be 3,000 cards worth 50p or something, you know, really like not good stuff, whereas this is quality. This is, I listed this actually last night and I've woken up saying I got 40 orders, so I'm going to be ripping this binder apart essentially today and like fire selling on stuff to make the money that I've sold back, because obviously 1,200 is a chunk of change to lose. But yeah, in terms of stuff, obviously, shops. Some of these are in the modern deck, like, you know, Black Plague Cliffs were in the Goblins deck even. Misty Rainforest is an interesting one. I've got a deck that runs some Misty Rainforest, and the Masters 17 copies that I've got are £45, and this is £50 currently. Obviously we're in Kaldheim standard as of the time of recording, so Zendikar Exhibitions is the second to most recent standard set. So these cards are coming out of the set booster boxes, I believe. They're cheap. They're really cheap right now. You know, I've been picking up the foil Cavern of Souls from this set for £75, and my foil caverns are £75, and my regular ones are like 50 odd. So for me, I'm like, well, why don't I just pay an extra 20 quid per card, upgrade the Cavern of Souls that I've got, and in future, if Cavern of Souls gets a reprint, the copies that I've got are going to go down in value. The expeditions, they might go down in value like a little bit, but the chances are they will have risen by then. So, you know, from a gaming point of view, it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, sorry, I'm delaying going through this. So yeah, so Mark's got a lot of lands that he bought to play, to switch in and out of. There's a couple of foreign language cards that I've like denoted by writing not on the card, obviously writing on the outer sleeve. Yeah, generally speaking, when you've got 4 of a copy of a card, I use Card Market a lot for selling stuff. So say for instance, Blood Crypts are €6 or £6 or whatever. You might charge £6 for it, and that's cool because after fees and whatever, you might get 20 quid for the playset. However, if you've got 4, you're able to charge maybe like £7.50 for them as a premium, because you've got them all, and somebody's going to come along who needs a playset for a deck, especially with lands, and says, oh, actually, rather than spending 4 times the postage, I'll just buy this person's for a bit less, for a bit more. We're also in a unique point at the moment in that the UK's just left the EU, so you get a lot of UK buyers who are no longer buying from abroad because they believe they're going to get import fees and stuff. However, I'm surrounded by some cards I've bought for my modern decks, like these Nighthawk Scavengers and Soul Shatters full arts are amazing. I've actually been emailing Wiley Beckett recently about getting a print of that card because it's probably one of my favourite new cards ever, and the artwork is unreal. Anyway, yeah, so you have this premium where like people will pay more to get it from England because they're under the impression that they're going to get import charges and stuff at the moment, which isn't happening. I've ordered something that was £100 recently, came through Card Market, no fees. But I've also seen a fall off of foreign buyers, so I'm selling way less abroad than I am here recently. Like, you know, once upon a time, a third of all my orders were from England, and now probably like 2/3, 3/4 of all my orders are from England, which is something that will develop, I'm sure. Anyway, back to the lands. Again, Cavern of Souls, it's a playset that's worth 200 quid. So that's once I've actually sold these already, so that's I'm down to like 1,000, and then whatever else I've sold, which is great. Urborgs seem to be climbing, but I mean, we are weeks away from Time Spiral Remastered happening, and at the moment, I mean, I looked through Time Spiral, Plan of Chaos, and Future Sight block. Urborg seems to be the one land that, like, I'm like, well, that's going to get a reprint. Or Modern Horizons, Horizon Canopy. Anyway, moving on. Good lands. And then we get into, like, the modern play sets. So obviously, Unsettled Mariner is nothing at the moment. I think it's a great card, though. Bloodbraid Elves less than £1. There's a play set of 4 Tron lands there that are nothing at the moment, although 2 of them are German. Fulminating Mages, when I first started playing Magic, they were like 15 quid. They're down to like £1 each now. Clothis is worth more than that. The stuff that I'm going to probably sit on, like Huntmaster of the Fells, for instance, is a werewolf. At the end of this year, we have got a Innistrad Werewolf specific set. Same with Vampires. I'm a Vampires modern player, so I'm really excited for that. I've been upgrading the Sorin Imperious Bloodlord, the 3-mana Sorins, from my deck to foil, preempting that spike, and then keeping the copies that I'm taking out of the decks back, because I expect that they're going to go more up in value towards the end of the year. Although signed stuff is a pain to sell, obviously. But yeah, all in all, the collection, there's play sets of everything, you know, and the play sets of like modern staples. Frascatan's like £1. I'm probably just going to sit on those. What's the point of selling on Planeswalker that's a mythic for £1 at the moment? She's 4 mana, she's reasonably good. She's got Abrupt Decay staple to her. What's £4 really? So for this, a couple of foils, play sets of file. I think it's from the latest sets. He's obviously bought them like since Double Masters come out and just never played with them, which is a shame. But and then we got Leyland Sanctities. Leyland Sanctities are £1 each at the moment. When I started playing Magic again in 2015, they were like 15 to 20 quid each. So hopefully we never reach a point where they are very high again, purely from a player point of view, because you want staple sideboard pieces to be cheap and accessible to people, but at the same time I can't let those go for £1. I'd rather wait. You know, if they ever hit a £5, probably sell out of them. Cool full art paths. I've got a bunch of these from GP promos and stuff, which is cool. Again, Selfless Spirit stuff for £5 a copy. Brazen Borrower, Inquisitions and Collective Brutality, all modern staples. Brazen Borrower is like an amount at the moment, like 12, 13. Inquisitions, I believe, when I first started playing, were 20 quid or something like that, and they're down to like £1 something now. They're never going to go back up. So there's some that I would sit on and some that I wouldn't. Really, really good condition Vampiric Cheetah, and a reasonable condition Demonic Cheetah, probably looking at like 80 quid there. Again, like big old staples. Ops and Phantasmal Image, you know, so Mark is obviously somebody who bought play sets of like tribal stuff. There's spirits there. Like I said, it was goblins, more spirits. Interesting play sets, so nothing mega noteworthy, all like £3 or £4 each. Scoos, Life from the Loam, Arbor Elf, Veil of Summers. Hex Drinkers is an amazing card, and I'm big in on Hex Drinker. I think I probably own 30 or 40 copies. People just cracking Modern Horizons. I was buying a box of Modern Horizons a week, taking to my FNM. The people who play at my FNM were opening those packets, and they were just immediately selling me the cards they were pulling if it weren't running 6. So I got those very cheap, and I think Hex Drink is a great card. I actually want to build a deck around it, but I believe it's probably going to be mono green or bust with that, and I'm not necessarily a mono green player, so whatever. Random new jank, including goblins, are actually worth stuff like Goblin Lake and Goblin Lookout. Tarfire and Falls, reasonably expensive. Just getting into the random jank section now. Scape Shifts, Split and Twin I'll probably sit on. I have got many copies of Split and Twin. I think I'm on like 30 copies of Split and Twin now. Because, same with Stoneforge Mystic, at some point, if Wizards unban Split and Twin, same with Jace really, I sat on a bunch of those. Stoneforge Mystic's one of those cards I was getting, people selling them to me for like £8. Or whatever they were pre unban, and I was just like taking them and sitting on them. People were like, oh, Stoneforge will get unbanned, it's not broken, and I didn't have any clue about modern at the time, but I was like, well, I'm willing to risk it, and it did get unbanned, and they went up to like 35 each very briefly, and that is when I fire sold out. I was like, go. This is the gap in the binder, so we're at the point where am I speaking fast? We're at the point where I've split up Eldrazi, Tron, and Goblins, which are Mark's 2 decks, and I've put them into binder now. So again, Meddling Mage and Noble Hierarchs are humans cards, which Mark's obviously was just wanting to branch out so we could play Spirits, Humans, or Goblins, whichever was better in the meta. For modern tournaments, it's not a playstyle that I would do, but I totally respect that. It makes perfect sense for a competitive player. And again, these are the humans cards like Thalia's, Generals, a bunch of Copers. There's actually a foil one that I'm going to swap out for one of the non-foils in my collection and keep that. Which is cool. Generally speaking, human cards not worth that much money. And then this is, we're getting into the part where I split up Goblins. So Anti's Hovels, Thoughtseize, Aether Vials, Goblin Guides. They were the cards that were worth anything. And as well as the fetch and the shocks and stuff like that are in the front of the binder. They were the cards that were worth anything in Goblins. A couple of Kiki Jikis that were floating around the binder there. Other than that, and then Eldrazi Tron, obviously, as mentioned before, Time Spiral Remaster's coming. Chalice of the Void are going to go down because they're going to be getting a reprint, even if they're coming out in a really nice new artwork. So for me, I'm like, it's time for me to go. In fact, is that a thing? Yeah, they have announced Chalice of the Void in like a time shifted thing. Whether or not, because it's obviously part of Mirrodin and not Planet Chaos and stuff, whether that's just part of like the list type thing that the reprinted modern staples aren't in Time Spiral's block or not, I don't know, but I do know that they're getting a reprint, so that essentially Chalice are going to be on the downtrend. So out of those quick, same with Ugin really. Ugin just had a reprint. Ugin's on its way back up, so I'm not in a mega rush to sell that. Ballast has just had a reprint in Double Masters. Thorn.Sea is reasonable. Wormcore's just a reprint in Double Masters. Eldrazi Temples, reasonable. They're recovering from 2 or 3 quid each up to like 6, 7. Ulamog's one of those cards. I have 6 of those for sale at the moment. They're like £35. He has not had a reprint. I don't believe that it can go that much longer without having a reprint, because he's a £35 mythic who's played in a lot of stuff. So that's one of the ones that I'm like, well, I want a foil copy for myself personally for my commander deck. I've got colourless EDH deck with Ulamog as the captain. That gets hated out very quickly, obviously, but yeah, I want a foil. I'm not willing to spend 8 quid on a foil on a card that's probably going to get reprinted at some point in the near future, especially with WotC's reprint policy. Again, in Ensnaring Bridges, they were... How much were Ensnaring Bridges? They were like 25, 30 quid, and I got my playset of Stronghold ones many moons ago, and they're down to like £12.50 now. They just had a reprint in Double Masters also, as well as Master 25. They are getting crushed. That's pretty much it. You know, that is the collection. As you can see, if you're ever going to part with £1,200 of your own money to buy a collection, this is one of the ones that you want to buy. You know, there's a lot of cards that aren't worth much in there, but there's also those staples. You know, when you can sell a playset of massively sought after lands and net back 200 quid in one go, and then, you know, I've had people, I know some of the orders that I've got to fill out later on today before I go to the post office are for the full sets of the lands and stuff. It's amazing. So I've waffled there. We've got 22 minutes. If you've made it to the end of it, well done. I do talk an amount of nonsense, but hopefully you appreciate how great this is and how easy it was to part with that money, knowing that I'll make that back very quickly. And obviously I buy at a 70% margin, so probably make 200 or 300 on top of that, if not a little bit more, and trade a couple of foils and you know, Expedition, Rainforest and stuff out for regular ones. So yeah, hopefully see you again soon.